Hey guys, this is Tiffany with the Nerdettes, and oh my goodness, I just got done watching Twice Upon a Time with, which is of course the Doctor Who Christmas special, with Peter Capaldi, and it's interesting. Like, I obviously saw the trailer, and I saw that William Hartnell was coming back, and his doctor, and Mark Gatiss was in it, and he was of course in like a military World War I outfit, and I wasn't really sure what to make of it, but oh my gosh, this episode, I thought I was ready. I'm sure a lot of you thought you were ready. You kind of like get yourself kind of mentally and emotionally ready for a doctor's final, episode or whatnot, unless they come back, which ironically, we haven't seen Hartnell since the Five Doctors episode, or was it five, that's right, the Five Doctors, when they were all together, which, it's like that again, especially when you have two doctors, and, so basically this opens with World War I, and we see this captain laying on the ground, and he's in like a face-off with the enemy, and they're both pointing their guns at each other, and obviously one of them is about to shoot, and the other one obviously is going to die. So, this all of a sudden time freezes, and you have like Capaldi is talking to himself, to his first, ever form, and it's like it takes a long time for the first Doctor to actually recognize that he's him, or to acknowledge that he's him. I think deep down the Doctor always knows his other form, like deep down, but they are skeptical and maybe don't notice it. And I love the jibes between the Doctors this episode, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. But so basically, this like liquid, like glass looking girl shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, who is this? So we find out later that this is a person or a form that is part of something called testimony. And testimony, which they bring the Doctors to, inhabit the chamber of the dead. And basically they use like regeneration technology and regeneration capabilities from the Time Lords to kind of recreate people that we love, or that have passed, and give them their memories. They bring them back to the moment that they died, with all their memories intact, all their personality, their being is supposed to be the same, but at the core they're this glass person. So I mean, how real does that make them? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a, whatever your take on that is. It's really weird to see Bill comes back, and she comes back in the Chamber of the Dead, and we see her interacting with Capaldi and with Hartnell's doctor. And, she's herself. She maintains her memory. She has everything that she had before, but it's different. Because obviously she's still this glass person. So, essentially, it's interesting that Hartnell comes back, because he admits that he doesn't want to regenerate. He doesn't want to, change. And neither does Capaldi. Capaldi's right back to where he started. Like that first inkling of, kind of like what we saw in Tenet, and I know it'll always be too soon, where he just doesn't want to go. He's kind of having that almost like a mortality crisis of sorts, where he just doesn't, he's not ready to go on and regenerate. And Hartnell actually admits that he wasn't either, that and they kind of like discuss with each other why, and it's very profound, because it's like, well, why don't you want to move on? What's holding you back? And for Hartnell's doctor, it's that he doesn't want it to change, and he's afraid. He's afraid to become someone else, to move past where he is at that moment. And it's kind of interesting, their kind of dialogue, especially where Bill's involved, because, Hartnell still has that old world mindset that, men are like that person that, that they're the gender that, take charge and they save the day, and women are the hapless females in distress, that they don't have really courage and minds of their own, and they're a good companion, but they don't have that spirit. And Bill obviously has that spirit. So, he's talking about how Polly is obviously not around because the TARDIS is so dirty, and he makes these kind of comments to Bill like, you should clean up the TARDIS, clean up the place, you've been slacking, and Capaldi's like, look, ooh, shiny, lights, look over here, look, a distraction, because obviously he, that his mindset then compared to where he is now, at number, what is this, 12, so it's been a big, vast difference. And now let me kind of put this out there. When I first ever started watching Doctor Who, I saw bits and pieces when I was growing up on PBS late night, anywhere between 10 to 5 in the morning, and it would be Monty Python and Mr. Bean and Doctor Who. And when I grew up, I grew up watching Pertwee and Tom Baker, and just reruns. But at the same time, they were all mismatched, out of place, out of context, and they weren't in order. So now, when I kind of got reintroduced to Doctor Who was when Matt Smith had just started, and I kind of got away from it for quite some time. But most people say I didn't start at Eccleston. When I tried to start watching it again, when I went to revisit Doctor Who, I started with Hartnell. I did the difficult thing. I did not start at Eccleston. I started at Hartnell and worked my way up through, I got to the 6th Doctor, and I stopped, and because the 50th anniversary was about to come out, I picked it up from Eccleston, binge-watched all through all of Matt Smith's current stuff, got caught up, saw the 50th anniversary, and saw Matt's last episode. So, all the way through his, regeneration. So, it's really interesting to watch this now, because now I have an appreciation for General Lethbridge Stewart, which we find out is Mark Gatiss' character. He is Captain Lethbridge Stewart, and I died a little inside, because I knew when Capaldi makes the statement that, and this is one of my favorite quotes from this episode, that everyone is important to somebody. That is so true and so profound, that everyone, you don't really think about it, but every single person, everyone, no matter how down you may get in life, no matter what oppresses you or makes you feel inadequate or less of a person, or that no one notices you or pays attention to you, every single person, everyone is important to somebody, whether it be your parents, your family, your someone that you made an impression on in your life, whether it be a boss, a coworker, a person you met on the street and had a conversation with. It could be anybody that you had an effect on, whether you may know it or not, big or small. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture that makes someone remember something you said or something you did in this life. Everyone is important to somebody, and that when he says that, I had this inkling. I was like, it's a captain, World War I, military. Watch it be Lethbridge Stewart. Sure enough, it is. And here's the crazy thing is, if you've watched the 50th anniversary, you know that General Leopard Stewart comes back as a Cyberman, salutes him as he's as the Cybermen, like the day is being saved and the Cybermen leave. General Leopard Stewart is the one that's like leading the brigade. It's like just mind blowing, and the fact that we see him here is. Anyway, I've digressed. I'm so sorry, but anyways, so they're having this interaction, and. We get to see Bill, and they go to this chamber of the dead. They interact with these creatures of testimony, these glass, they almost look like AIs, almost like Cortana, or like from Halo or something like that. These AIs almost, but they're actually glass interfaces that are like computerized of some kind. So, anyways. But getting to see the two TARDISes side by side, like you see the original TARDIS of Hartnell's, the one that he initially stole and ran away in, the one that, is so nostalgic to see this, because that TARDIS, like, I actually recently rewatched the first Doctor, not even that long ago. So, gosh, it's actually been only a few months ago. So, to see that again, and to see, the Daleks coming back into play, because obviously, we first see them in Hartnell's, the first Doctor's season. And, to see the two TARDISes whirling through space side by side is beyond comparison. Like, you have, Capaldi's bigger TARDIS with more windows, it's grown with the, regenerations and with the Doctors, and you see Hartnell's, and you get that pristine, clinical, white, like just white, again, clean, just kind of that first feel of it, because of course, as you see, they have to escape from the Chamber of the Dead, because they don't want to. They basically give them an ultimatum that says, "You give us Leopard Stewart, we'll give you Bill." There you go. And as she is now, which is like this glass person, which they don't know that yet, they just see her as she is here, but they don't really understand until later that she has become this glass person. So, Capaldi decides he's not going to make that decision, that they're going to save both of them, as is the Doctor's way. And they escape and leave, and because they can't use his TARDIS, they use Hartnell's TARDIS. And again, you get that, the white, pristine, first TARDIS feeling, of course, we who are, like, it's almost like breaking a fourth wall, because we on the other side remember that this was a low budget whenever it first started, and that's why it couldn't change like it's supposed to, and it could only stay the police box. But yeah, to see those side by side was pretty awesome. Basically they are, they try to figure out who these people are, who the testimony is. And they're trying to think of some sort of like database that is large enough. And I almost thought that they were going to go to the library. When I say the library, I'm talking about Donna Noble has left the library. I'm talking about where River Song made her end with Tennant, where Donna Noble was integrated into the library, where like this piece of the Doctor still remains. That library, I thought that's where they were going at first, especially when they arrive, and it kind of looks like that. If you notice, it's like that garden of course it's like almost like apocalyptic, there's like fire and brimstone and like lots of red and lots of like decay going on here. But I thought it was like a maybe apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic library, and that they had landed in the garden, which is part of that library. I almost thought that that's where this is going, but it's not. It's actually the place where I guess Daleks come to die, and as we see, they're like we've seen their insides, obviously, if you've watched it, what they look like, and he actually goes up to reunite with Rusty. My little Dalek right here. And Rusty is the first one that he ever saw his inside, where that opened up and let him see and literally into his innermost being. And you know, he obviously has more knowledge, more dialogue capabilities than most Daleks, and Rusty has this kind of vendetta to kill all Daleks because the Doctor has helped him to understand and realize that Daleks are bad and that the Doctor is a good Dalek, because the Doctor makes a statement, Rusty, the only good Dalek, and Rusty's like, no, you were the good Dalek. And you know, so we get to have that interaction. And through this database, they find out that this testimony was started, like I was talking about, like by the scientist who made it where we could like experience our loved ones again in this glass form, which is very Black Mirror. If you've seen Black Mirror, the episode that has Haley Atwell, very much like that, because whenever he is brought back and regenerated, his speech is the same. His memories have been integrated through that advanced technology, and it's very much like that. So I mean, obviously, here we go again. You know, they're bringing people back, and they remember even up into the point of their deaths, like everything that's happened. And so, you know, through it all, I mean, even Leopard Stewart, he's willing to make that sacrifice. He comes out, he's like, you know, my time's up anyways. I'm willing to do this so that Bill may live. You know, let's just get it done. Just so many different things. And as we get to see, you know, he interacts, the Doctor, you know, throughout, even Tom Baker, I think, was the last time we saw Leopard Stewart until the new stuff. You see him interacting with General Leopard Stewart, with his daughter, with still interacting with that military unit. So, you know, it's very much a part of him and who he becomes. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, again, it goes back to that mortality thing. So they ultimately decide that, you know, they don't want to let testimony do what they want and deliver this Leopard Stewart to the, you know, time of his death and let it, you know, just almost like rewind and fast forward, you know, push play and let it happen like it's supposed to. They want to do it instead, the Doctors do. So they take Captain Leopard Stewart back to the battlefield, and it's almost like he's seeing a part of himself. And I'll get to that in just a second. I'm sorry, I've got so many tangents going on here just after watching this. But you know, he takes him back to the battlefield, back in front of this enemy that he's facing off against, with guns pointed and in a draw, you know, where someone's gonna have to pull the trigger. And they let him know that they're gonna, you know, whenever they let time come back and move forward, that he won't remember anything. They'll be invisible, and history will play out as it's supposed to. So, you know, time moves forward, and the Doctor actually has kind of altered it a little bit, the timeline, because now, as you know, if you're familiar with history, there was a Christmas armistice where the enemies, or both sides of the war, laid down their arms for one night because it was Christmas, and there was almost like an understanding of peace. No weapons would be drawn because it was Christmas, it was the holiday. So that's what it was fast forwarded to, and you know, the Christmas carols are being sung, and you know, enemies and good versus evil, all that's forgotten. You know, they're coming together to have games and talking and understanding. You know, even with that language barrier, they still come together on this night of Christmas armistice. So we see that Hartnell finally says, you know what, I'm ready. I was afraid to move on, but now kind of seeing, what he has to look forward to, and to, almost like just everything that's happened has made him accept that regeneration. So you get to see him, and I'm very glad for this, because watching the first Doctor, you finally get that, like, all these Doctors now, they get that exit that they deserve, but like originally they didn't really get a big, sending off for whenever they would regenerate to their next form. So you finally get that, and his like send off is, well, then here we go, the long way round. And so it was good to see that, and to see him have his own little exit. And then the Doctor, he's having this kind of monologue with himself. He's like, you know what, Doctor, it's time to leave the battlefield, because as the testimony says, as Rusty says, he is the Doctor of war, or for war, because he, look at where he's come from. Whenever, he was the war doctor, and when he was, everything that he's been through, everything that he's done, it's like, it's coming like full circle here with Capaldi. It's almost like time has kind of, circled around into another point, and here's where it has met. And he's kind of accepted that, even though he's stalled time and used regeneration magic twice to not fully regenerate, he understands that now it is the time to go. And so his last speech, I knew it was going to get me, and I was not prepared. Especially, he gets that, just like with Matt, whenever he had, his speech of, I'll always remember when the Doctor was me, to this day is still one of my absolute favorite speeches of all time in Doctor Who history. Including whenever he's like challenging them, the alien races, that the Earth is protected. You all know that episode. But here we go again with Capaldi, who also brings up the fact that the Earth is guarded. And his speech, just that, one of my favorite lines is, hate is always foolish, love is always kind. And like, he's having this monologue with himself, like with his future regeneration, saying, let me kind of pass the torch, but also give you this invaluable knowledge that I have come to realize at this stage in this whole, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, in this whole experience that he has had. This is what you need to know for your chapter, your time as the Doctor. And it is this, to be kind, and you get that kind of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other kind of thing. Be kind. Hate is always foolish. Love is always kind. Remember to be the Doctor, and to be there for others, and to save people, to let yourself live, and just that whole, vibe that we needed. And his send off, oh man, is just be kind. And his final words are, Doctor, I let you go. And I didn't know what to expect, but that was not the line I expected. Especially after he's having this, reuniting, just like what happened with Matt Smith. He gets to see all of the people he's kind of had that voyage with. He's, obviously Clara, Bill's there, and, oh my gosh, for him to make this speech, it really reminded me of Extremis, because, he's like, he makes this beautiful speech, and those final lines of without hope, without witness, without reward, and that encompasses who he is and epitomizes who he is as the Doctor. And whenever he's like, "Doctor, I let you go," it's almost like he lets himself go. He's making the acceptance that he's ready to regenerate, but at the same time, he's letting this next iteration of the Doctor take that torch and carry it on, and it's just, whew, yeah. Anyway, wow. I mean, I know a lot of people were really skeptical about Capaldi, as we are with most Doctors when they first start. Look at all the hoopla with Jodie Whittaker, who we get to see at the end of this episode, of course. Her first introduction, and the regeneration when she comes out, and she's still wearing Capaldi's outfit, and the only word we hear from her is when she looks at the kind of monitor of what's going on, and she's like, "Oh, brilliant," whenever she sees that she's when she sees she's a woman. And the end of this episode, we've had an exploding TARDIS before. Here we go again. The TARDIS is blowing up and filling with fire and exploding, and she's falling, which, here's the irony for you. Just the way she's falling very much is, with this being the Christmas episode, reminds me of Hans Gruber when he's falling in Die Hard, and just that same kind of trajectory, the same, almost the same pose in falling. Very Hans Gruber-esque. And, but yeah, I mean, the TARDIS is exploding again, so I guess we'll see another new TARDIS, as is, correct with every Doctor we've seen. There's been changes, and, you get that comedy with, "Oh, I don't like what you've done with the place," but I'm sure we'll see that again. And, this last episode, I know Stephen Moffat's finally kind of hanging up his hat as well, so to kind of see his leave of the series, I guess this is his final. I don't know if he's going to maybe guest write still or something, because as we know, the Jodie Whittaker's from Broadchurch, well, the writer from Broadchurch is now kind of taking the helm, so to speak. So I don't know if Stephen Moffat's still going to maybe guest write occasionally. I don't know what the plan is there. But, yeah, what a way to go. And, but yeah, this episode was fantastic. Very, very heart-wrenching. Capaldi has been the Doctor for just impassioned, profound speeches, and this is no stranger to that. So, I would love to know what you guys thought. What you thought of this episode, what you thought of Mark Gatiss as Captain Lethbridge Stewart, what you thought of that, Hartnell making a return. It's interesting to see him playing Hartnell, because, when you watch him in Game of Thrones, and when you see him as Filch in Harry Potter, he's kind of that kind of person you love to hate. But now to see him as Hartnell, it's uncanny, the resemblance. It's just, again, just full-fledged, right in the feels for us Whovians, of course. So, but yeah, that was my thought, and just everything that's happened with this episode. I hope you all, enjoyed the send-off as much as I did. And I'm just as eager to see what Jodie Whittaker does, I'm sure, as the rest of you are. And I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I'm not, expecting the worst or anything like that. I have high hopes for her. She has a lot riding on her, so I wish her the best of luck. And I hope I'm sure, if anything, she will at least enjoy it, as you should. And, but yeah, that's all I have to say. Sorry for going on and on, but being a Whovian, as I'm sure you understand, is you become so just involved with the series, and just whenever it makes a new transition, goes into a new chapter, new Doctor, it's very, very important. So, but anyways, that was the Twice Upon a Time episode for the Christmas special, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. We are still going to continue our giveaway. I'm going to do an official video with the full details. We were going to do kind of like just a random giveaway to one of the subscribers of a NES Classic and an SNES Classic, but there were some complaints because people wanted to enter officially, so we'll do an official giveaway just like we have before, and give away an NES Classic and an SNES Classic. So check out the details when that video comes out. It will be out this week, giving you all the details, all the capabilities to enter to win. We'll also, whenever I do that video, we'll be showing them on screen so you can kind of see what you're winning. They are like what you can get in the stores for the NES and SNES Classics. And just want you to see what you're winning. And yeah, so part of winning is to subscribe. We of course do Doctor Who reviews. I've watched all of Westworld season 1, and so we'll be reviewing Westworld season 2. We'll probably do a recap review episode, just to kind of not do it episode by episode, because that I've already seen it, so it's kind of like I already know the spoilers, so you can't really see my genuine reaction. But we'll do a recap, I think, episode for you guys before Westworld season 2 starts. When Black Mirror starts, obviously I've seen all of Black Mirror, if you can't tell with this review. We will review it, because as you know with Black Mirror, every episode is by itself. You know, it is not like any other episode, except some of the technology comes back up and into play, but they're each individual. You can watch one and have completely different context than another, so... yeah, we'll be reviewing Walking Dead still. Of course, they're on hiatus for the winter right now. We'll do Game of Thrones, as we have before. Let's see, what else are we doing? We did Stranger Things. We did The Orville, which is also on hiatus. I'm behind on Ruby by 1 episode. I apologize about that. I do need to get caught up, and I will this week, I promise. We will be doing more anime. We'll be doing reviews, because obviously I'm the anime guru. If you can't tell from my collection, I actually have watched a lot of anime. So unlike any of those nerd channels out there, I am fully in the know whenever it comes to anime. So I'm the anime guru, and I read manga, so I definitely want to let you guys know what to watch and kind of give you those reviews so you'll know what's out there and know what to look for. So anyways, definitely subscribe. We do unboxings and giveaways and all sorts of fun stuff. We're going to be doing more gaming for you guys, streaming. So check us out. We really appreciate it. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Nerdettes. And we hope to see you guys again. Bye, guys.